Welcome back to Homegrown Health. I'm your host, Joni Abbott Cox, and we will be talking about raw milk in Illinois and the issues that all small farmers here are facing with the new legislation that's being introduced. And so you don't want to miss that. I'll be giving you some of the latest information and then bringing you perhaps another interview with somebody from Illinois, Raw Milk Circle, coming up on the Monday edition of Homegrown Health. But first, I want to introduce you to my friend Howard Hoffman of pHresh Greens. Do you feel fresh with a PH? pHresh. pHresh Greens is a really cool green alkalizing powder that I really love to drink daily. Howie, welcome to Homegrown Health.
Hi, Joni. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit more about pHresh Greens, because it's 100% raw, and I want to let my listeners know about it too. It jumps out of the jar and onto my spoon, and it does it all on its own. It was kind of freaky.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's called paromagnetism. Actually, a Nobel Prize winner in 1977 named Dr. Fritz Kopp. He won a Nobel Prize for biophoton theory.
Right.
Basically, what that means is you're eating live energy from the sun. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand what raw really means.
Right.
To me, anything heated above 118 degrees is no longer raw.
Right.
But majority of products, they irradiate their food. That's like putting it into a microwave. For example, if we microwave a cup of water for 2 minutes and then let it cool down to room temperature and then feed it to a plant, the plant dies 1 to 2 weeks. So what is that doing to our body? So there's a lot of products out there that say raw, but if they're microwave, it's no longer raw. The reason why pHresh Greens is so important to me, for someone who has a lifestyle like me, who's always on the go or busy, or just lazy, basically, majority of us Americans, 286 million of us, are not eating 3 to 5 servings of vegetables a day.
Right.
And that's a real problem for us. As you know, always listen to mom. So basically, pHresh Greens is 100% organic, 100% raw. It's even in the BPA-free container.
Yes, I know. I love it. And, I took it over to some friends of mine, and they're chiropractors, and they practice a lot of raw, healthy, low on the food chain type of diet for their patients in their chiropractic office. And they looked at the container and they said, I've never seen so many circles with lines through them. And that means that it's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, no animal products, non-irradiated, BPA-free, no sugar. They said, I've never seen so many good no's on a package.
Thank you. It was really just keeping it closest to nature as possible. And that's the main premise of anything with health. We're organic beings meant to eat organic foods. We're not robots. We're not meant to eat technology.
Right. Oh, that's so good.
Just bring it back to basis.
Right. Well, and the idea of body pH has been coming up a lot, especially on my Facebook page at Homegrown, facebook.com/Homegrown Health, because the recent decision for Angelina Jolie to remove her breasts as a means of prevention for breast cancer makes no sense in the natural health world. And, we talk a lot about cancer not surviving or being able to thrive in an acidic environment. And diet is so important in order to keep that pH in balance.
Well, I completely concur and agree with you. For example, if anyone drinks soda, it takes 32 glasses of water to neutralize that 1 can of soda. 32. So just imagine if you're not eating mineral-rich foods, what's going to happen is the soda, your body always has to maintain a homeostasis balance on pH.
Right.
So what's the highest, pH mineral in our body? Calcium, which is in our bones. So it's going to deplete your bones, causing demineralization, osteoporosis, and other arthritic conditions. So this is why it's so important to eat alkaline-forming foods.
Yeah.
It's a have to.
It is a have to, and if you don't know what alkalizing foods are, pHresh Greens is a great place to start because it has so many of your green products and your green foods that help bring down that pH. a true story here. My grandmother drank Coca-Cola growing up. Not necessarily growing up, but in her adult life and young years of young motherhood, she always loved Coke. And she has holes in her bones. You can see them on their bone scans and x-rays.
I know, it's so sad, and health is really that easy. You know, it's like a car or a vehicle. Whatever fuel you put into it, that's how the car's going to operate. And it's just like our body. If we could process, refine fake foods, how is our body going to operate?
Right. It's not, how can we expect to get from point A to point B if we don't do the oil changes, we don't do the tune-ups, and we don't put the right fuel in it, right?
Exactly. And health is really simplistic. I think it's marketing that's really making it hard or confusing. It's just eat real food, eat a lot of greens. Majority of us in our diets, we don't eat a lot of vegetables as Americans. If they're lucky, they eat the vegetables on top of a hamburger.
Right, yeah, the lettuce.
Right, and I think Ronald Reagan said ketchup is a serving of vegetables, but it's not.
Right. An interesting fact about Ronald Reagan is he ended up having some kind of prostate or pancreatic cancer, as featured in the movie Cut, Poison, Burn. It's a documentary and film about the cancer industry. And he actually started these diplomatic meetings in Mexico, but he was actually going down there to get vitamin B17 laetrile injections or laetrile treatment, which is found in the apricot seed kernel, is very effective against, protecting from cancer and healing cancer. He was getting that alternative treatment the whole time, a majority of time during his presidency, and never once brought it to the American people.
Well, Joni, I have one point on cancer. Like, I have cancer. Everyone has cancer. For example, if we went to a supermarket and bought amazing food and put it in a refrigerator, and then we decided to go on vacation, so we unplugged the refrigerator. Then we come back 2 weeks later. What happens to the food? Right. There's microforms, there's bacteria, there's already even maggots inside the food. But where does it come from? It's always been inside the food. When you change it to an acidic environment, that bacteria starts to thrive. And it's the same thing with our body.
Nice.
That's why it's so important to be proactive and reactive.
Yes, and the words proactive, reactive, preventative, I think that we're not really dissecting these words properly. The American public, I think, at times has been sold such a lie, like you said, with some of the marketing and the deceptive practices and labeling, that they're not even sure what preventative is. They think things like cutting breasts off to prevent breast cancer is actually preventative and proactive, and it's really not. It all starts in your internal environment, the law of the terrain. If you keep the inside balanced and healthy, then the rest of you will function properly.
Well, people pay more attention to the materialistic possessions like their vehicles. They change the oil knowing if they don't change it, the engine would seize. It's the same thing with us, and it's really that easy.
Right. So, Howie, tell me a little bit about how you started pHresh Greens and how it came to be such a really superior product.
Well, basically, I read this book called pH Miracle, written by Dr. Robert Young, and my brain just went on lightning. I got so inspired, and to me, it's like everyone should know about pH. And like you said, in 1931, a Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Otto Warburg, won the Nobel Peace Prize for cell respiration. Basically, he figured out that anything in an oxygenated environment, cancer or diseases really cannot thrive, in my opinion. And then, I went into the water and I started studying water because our body is made out of water, majority. Mm-hmm. But I was not able to stabilize the water molecule because electricity, well, that's another story I'll get into. But then I said, what's the next thing? Greens. Animals in the wild do not get cancer, but our own pets do. Why? Because what we feed it.
Right.
So then I went into what are the top most alkaline greens in the world. And I picked the top greens, put it into a bottle. Obviously, the processing is the most easiest in the world. Just keep it simple. Grown in organic farms, non-radiated, air-dried under 80 degrees, so we're not destroying the extractor of the cell, put it in a bottle, make sure it's BPA free, and that's it. It's really that simple.
Well,
but I always say, Joni, fresh greens is only a supplement. First, eat real food.
Right.
And if you can, or if you're, just on the go, or unfortunately lazy, all you have to do is just take 1 teaspoon, mix it with water, juice, and a smoothie, and you have your supplement of vegetables for the day.
It is fantastic. I mean, I will say I am on the go a lot and often finding myself drinking at least 1 meal a day. And so I always, no matter what it is, I just throw some fresh greens in there, and it does make it super, super simple. And it kind of takes a little bit of worry off of my mind that I'm not getting enough.
Absolutely. And me, I don't practice a vegan diet. I focus on a balanced diet. Mm-hmm. If I'm a bad boy, let's say I go to a friend's wedding, might have a cocktail or two. What I would do the next day is upload the fresh greens to balance my pH.
Yeah.
And that's really it. It's just a balance and maintaining a proactive lifestyle than a reactive.
It's awesome. Now, you also sell a couple of other things at pHreshproducts.com, and that's spelled with a pH because we're always maintaining the idea of pH balance. And you sell the testing strips for your urine and your saliva, and you get it pretty accurately. It's a little bit more specific than some of the more general testing strips that you get at a health food store.
Yeah, I created the first narrow range pH testing strips in the world. Basically, like a regular litmus paper or other pH testing strips, they have intervals of 0.5,
right?
Which is really, to me, that's a big spectrum from 6 to 6.5 to 7. So I wanted to get a little more focused. So I traded something with 2 reagents. Reagents is what measures the pH. So we have a top reagent that measures high pH and a lower reagent which measures the lower pH. And then you take the mean. And the intervals on this is 0.25, so it's like 6 to 6.25 to 5 to 6.5, so it's more of an accurate reading rather than a wide range.
Right.
And it's really easy to use. You just gotta put in your urine stream or saliva, and you see what's going on internally in your body. For me, it's really not about the acidic alkaline. To me, it's really measuring what minerals are in your body. So if you're eating an acidic forming diet like McDonald's, processed foods, you're going to read acidic. But also, being acidic is not just eating. It's about your mental consciousness and mind state. If you're in a negative attitude or if you're going through stress, it's also going to be acidic. So it's also a gauge to show that you should take care of yourself sometimes, because in today's society, we're so focused on everyone else, we forget our own selves.
Yes, and that is so true. That is so true. And you've had to remind me of that, actually. Like, okay, Joni, you're going through a stressful time. Of course you're going to read a little bit more acidic, because I would be so close to having what I would consider perfect pH that I'm like, oh, I'm still a little off yet. And you're like, yes, because you are inside too. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these alkaline people who are just getting into the business, they're just recopying information. You cannot become alkaline. They're saying become an alkaline, but you can't. Anything too alkaline is the same conditions as being too acidic.
Right.
Acidosis. It's always maintaining a balanced state. The reason why they say alkaline, because your blood pH is 7.365 to 7.4. You can't make your blood alkaline or acidic. If you do, you pass. Just like the fish tank. If it's not balanced, what happens to the fish? They swim to the top. But in our blood, there's a very small difference. And I see a lot of people marketing blood cells on a cellular level and saying, have an alkaline blood. That's impossible. So that's all marketing, unfortunately.
Right, and people have become very, very sly on their marketing campaigns. That's why we have to be educated. We have to be, informed consumers. And again, this is how we take charge of our health and healing, all from home. Howard Hoffman from Fresh Greens, thank you so much for being on Homegrown Health today and telling us a little bit more, not only about your product, but body pH, especially, in light of trying to understand the internal environment of our bodies.
Well, if you go on the website, pHreshproducts.com, fresh with the pH, we have alkaline charts that really show you and gauge, how the body really works. And I made it so simplistic because I'm not really smart. I just make it easy. So, like today, our society, our grandparents used to consume about 5 pounds of natural sugar. In our society today, we're consuming 150 pounds of refined processed sugar, and that's why diabetes is the fastest growing epidemic in America right now.
Yeah, diabetes and GM, the sugar beets are GM too, so it's also GMO sugar.
Absolutely, it's like synthetic. And then our grandparents back then as well consumed about 0 pounds of synthetic chemicals. Today we're consuming about 123 pounds. And what I mean by synthetic chemicals, I'm talking about dyes, which is paint. We're eating paint, preservatives, herbicides, pesticides, all that bad stuff. But again, like you know, when they're spraying the farm, they have to wear gas masks and hazmat suits.
Yeah.
But then we can eat that?
Right.
It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
So the pH chart in the website, it's very simplistic. It's foods that are acidic forming like soda and foods that are alkaline forming like lemons. So it's really that easy.
That's fantastic. I'm just so glad that you make it so easy for us because, it helps with people get really overwhelmed when they start thinking about changing their diet or, especially when you start talking a little bit of chemistry with changing your pH and, how do I do that,
Right.
So if we make it simple and help them realize that, hey, your food is your friend, it's not your enemy, food is your ally, is going to help you with this, then, it'll be a lot easier.